Creating YouTube videos has made me a better speaker, and in this video I'm going to share with you 3 tips that are going to help you engage better with your audience, and you will be able to implement these in your next presentation. My name is Markus Seppälä. Tip number 1 is to start super strong. When people are watching a video on YouTube, after 30 seconds, half of them are probably gone. So I want to talk about audience retention and the need to hook them immediately, because having YouTube data shows us how people actually behave when it comes to their audience retention. And if their retention is so low, you have to hook them immediately. And we're going to look at some specific techniques for accomplishing that. But first, let me show you an example of how this can actually look in practice. You see on the screen right now is an example of an audience retention chart for one of my best performing videos. When I took the screenshot, it was actually the best performing video on my channel. And what it shows on the x-axis is the length of the video, 8 minutes 44 seconds. And on the y-axis, you see how many % of the people who clicked on it are still watching. And if we look at the first highlighted area on the left there, that's the first 30 seconds. And in that first 30 seconds, only 56% of the people are still watching this video. And this is not a particularly bad result for YouTube. This is a good result. But almost half the people have already left, and we're only 30 seconds into the video. So let's look at some techniques that we can use to hook the audience immediately, because what that data shows us, what this chart shows us, is that we only have maybe 10, 15, up to 30 seconds to hook them. So what is a hook? A hook is something that gets the audience interested in your content and they want to continue watching. I'll give you an example. What I used here in the opening of this video, I said, creating YouTube videos has made me a better speaker. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 tips that are going to help you engage with the audience. So I told you in the first 10 seconds exactly what you're going to get out of the video, and also why I have some authority or some interesting insights on this topic. So I thought that was a pretty good hook, and we're going to look at some more examples for this as well. But you might be saying, Markus, what does this have to do with me? Why? And I'm not making videos. I just make speeches. What does this have to do with me? Well, here's the thing. If you are doing a presentation, it's unlikely that people are just going to walk out the door. But just because they're watching, just because they're sitting there in their chair, doesn't mean that they're actually paying attention. If you fail to hook their interest in the first 15, 30 seconds, they might not actually listen to anything more that you have to say, and especially not take any of the actions that you recommend. And what I think is so powerful with YouTube is that it gives us all this data. We can actually look at what's happening here and implement that. Let me give you another example. You may be saying that, okay, I'm not making YouTube videos, but the type of speeches that we do these days, they are often online. And doing a speech online is actually very similar to doing a YouTube video, especially when it comes to the importance of retaining the audience. When you're presenting on Zoom, there are so many distractions. It is so easy to click away, to check your email, check the social media, or even check the weather. So you are competing with all these different distractions when you're presenting on Zoom. And in my opinion, that's an excellent reason why you should actually care a lot about hooking your audience immediately. And I wouldn't be surprised if the actual retention, if we can measure what's actually going on in people's brains, I wouldn't be surprised if it's similar to the chart that I just showed you. I'll give you another example. You may think that, okay, this is not for YouTube, but you may not always know that. If you are doing a workshop for a client, for example, and if that's in your agreement, that workshop may appear on the client's YouTube channel. I did a workshop a couple of weeks ago for a Toastmasters club in Paris for the club officers training about how to look professional on Zoom. And that ended up on their YouTube channel. Another example, if you do a TEDx talk, that's going to end up on the TEDx YouTube channel. So you may be thinking that, oh, I'm just doing a speech. But if that then turns into something that goes on YouTube or some other video sharing platform, you're in fact making YouTube content. Hey, let me know in the chat if that resonates with you, if this is valuable insights for audience retention. But I want to take it one step further, because what you saw there was just an example of a video that performs decently well, but I learned something from that video. What I want to show you now, I'm just going to set this up here. I'm going to show you the audience retention of a different video that I've used. So the first example that I had, that was actually from, excuse me, that was the first video I ever made about hybrid meetings. And what I'm gonna show you now is the second video I ever made about hybrid meetings. And I want us to focus on what happens with the audience retention. I'm going to put this on the screen right now, and you can see this is that same chart, but for a different video. And what I'm going to do for you is that I'm going to play the first 30 seconds of this video, and you can see on the chart here. I'm just going to double check that that's actually visible. I'm going to hide myself. I'm going to maximize the window so that you can see it clear. There we go. So what you can see on this chart is that in the first 30 seconds in that blue area, there's a dip like there always is at the beginning, but then there's this little piece here where it's actually a continuous section, and then the dip continues. Why is that? Well, let's find out exactly what happens in that first 30 seconds. I'm going to just play it for you, and you can see. Do you need to run a meeting where some of your participants are in a room together and others are remote? Well, that's a hybrid meeting. In this video, you will learn how to connect all your devices together and run your hybrid meeting with Zoom video conference. So I'm going to pause there. So you saw what happened during that first plateau where the line actually stopped falling. I had a video on there. I had just a handheld mobile phone video where I recorded how my hybrid meeting setup actually looks like. And that's a key. People like to watch something while they're listening to it. It builds engagement. So let's continue watching, and you will see two more examples, one good example and one bad example of what's going on in the next few seconds. If you are doing hybrid teaching, you can actually set up a hybrid classroom like this one anywhere with just a laptop, a smartphone, and a cheap microphone. And there you saw the second thing that contributed to audience retention. There was just a photo. And I'm talking about the setup, and there's a photo on the screen that engages people. Now we'll come to the bad example.
Your next act, Mr. Markus Seppälä.
And that was my intro. That's the intro that I've used in many of my videos. It's only a 4-second intro, but look at what happens in the last couple of seconds there. The audience retention drops from around 57, 62% down here to where it actually lands at 50%. So I'm losing almost 10% of the audience just because I had that little intro. And that is the reason why I no longer have the intro, right? Because it ruins my audience retention. People don't want to see the intro. So I think we as speakers, we need to pay attention to these signals that we have, what actually creates a good audience retention or not. And I have the window queued up. I have the video, the intro video queued up here in my live streaming software. I'm just going to play it for you so you can see exactly what I'm trying to do, and then we can talk about what it actually achieves.
Your next act, Mr. Markus Seppälä.
So it's a 4-second video that and the idea there was that I would try to establish myself as a bit of an authority, comedian, speaker, event host, and do a little bit of branding. But what I realized after looking at these audience retention reports is that it does no such thing. It actually makes the people leave. So I think that's an interesting insight, at least from my perspective, in terms of, let's see. I think that's an interesting insight in terms of what actually creates audience retention. Hey, let me know in the chat if this is resonating with you, if this is something that you can apply. So I want to talk about some different ways that you can take this insight and make your speeches better. And let's say that the goal is to catch people's attentions. The example that I had in my stream, I told you what was going to happen, and then I told you a little bit about myself as well. Another way to catch people's attention is to completely skip everything to do with intros. Don't say who you are, don't play a video, but just go into the first tip. So I could have also started my live stream by saying the best way to hook an audience is to start super strong. That could have been my hook, because the goal is to hook them there in the first 15 or 30 seconds. And you can do this as well. And we're in the next block, we're actually going to look at some bad examples of opening up the presentation as well. But let me quickly, there we go. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. Today we're talking about speaking tips from making videos, and I hope you're trying to. I hope that you're already seeing that there are some key insights that we can already learn. As always, there's links to everything I'm talking about in the description below this video, other resources that I'm talking about and that I will mention going forward. If you don't know how to open the description, just click show more if you're watching this on desktop, or if you're watching this on mobile, just click the little down arrow next to the video title. As always, there is also a link to buymeacoffee.com. If you appreciate this kind of free training right here on YouTube, you can make a small donation by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/MarkusPresents. Even if you're watching this in the replay, those donations are still appreciated, of course. There is actually a new feature now on YouTube as well. You can also send a super chat, which is also another way to make a small donation. Okay, let's continue with the tips. Because I was talking a little bit about the possibilities of donating, and I was talking about myself. And this is an excellent segue to tip number 2, because I was making this mistake myself. Here's tip number 2. Don't make selfish content. Stop making selfish content. This is one of the key things that you learn from YouTube, is that if you are making content for your audience, they will reward you by watching your videos. They will reward you by following your calls to action. But if you're making content for yourself, you're not going to be successful. And I'm going to give you an example. And I'm going to give you a very current example. I just reached 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And I wanted to make a special live stream, and this is that live stream. But I knew that if I put the title of the live stream as, oh, congratulations to me, I reached 1,000 subscribers, nobody would watch this. So I was thinking about how can I use my experience from making these YouTube videos to actually give something to you as the audience. So that's why we end up with these three tips here that we're going to share. So what does it look like when you're sharing selfish content? As many of you know, I am a long-time Toastmasters member, distinguished Toastmaster. I've been a member for 14 years, and I have heard many speeches that are indeed selfish. Let's give an example. If I have been to, let's say that I just came back from my vacation in Dubai. I might want to make a speech about my vacation in Dubai. But that's not a great topic, because nobody really wants to hear about my vacation in Dubai. However, what if I framed it differently and I made it not selfish content? How about this? 5 tips for your next vacation to Dubai. Here are the 5 things that you need to see when you go to Dubai. That's taking the same topic but making it less about me. How about this? Dubai has the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa. I could go super deep. I could just tell you 10 interesting facts about the Burj Khalifa. And if you find that interesting, that is valuable content to you. And I'm not only talking about the hotels where I stay. So the idea is here to make content for your audience. So why is this so relevant for YouTube? Of course, what I said before still applies, that YouTube rewards valuable content. But I want to give you another example of this, because the power of YouTube is that you can find out what your audience actually wants. And I'm going to show you this in a bit of a different way. I'm going to start another screen share. No, I'm going to start another screen share here for you. Just one moment. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can find out what people are actually interested in. So firstly, I'm going to share my normal YouTube screen with you right there. And then I'm going to type into the search here. For example, I can type in Dubai. And let's say Dubai travel. And YouTube will give me a number of ideas here based on the searches that people have actually done. So if I were to talk about Dubai, maybe I could do a Dubai travel guide. Or there's obviously a search for Dubai in Dubai travel information in Tamil, or Dubai travel tips. So YouTube can actually tell me exactly what people are looking for. But we're going to go deeper. So let's say that I go for Dubai travel, for example. And I have this extension here on the right side of my screen. And this extension is called VidIQ. You can see it here. And this tells me 2 things. And I'm using a free version. There's a link to this in the description as well. So this is the free version for keyword research. So this keyword Dubai travel has a search volume of 48, which is a decent search volume, but it also has a high competition, which means that there are quite a lot of people who have already made videos about this topic. But at least it shows me that Dubai travel it's something that people are interested in. So VidIQ is really good for this because if I just type in something here, it doesn't tell me how many people are searching for it. It only tells me the topic. But VidIQ here is able to tell me exactly how much search volume there is. I also use another tool called Keywords Everywhere. That's a paid tool, so I'm not going to demonstrate that, but VidIQ you can get for free. You can even actually get a free trial for 30 days with the link in the description. So let's dive a little bit deeper about what are your audience actually interested in. And I'm going to use a live example. Earlier this week, I released a video called Zoom Background. It was about Zoom background blur. So let's search that. Zoom background blur. There is 41 in interest according to VidIQ, but the competition is medium. So I thought, okay, I can probably rank for that search term. But what about another search term that is related? Zoom blur background. Let's try that instead. Are people typing in Zoom blur background? Yes, people are typing in that as well, but it has a lower competition score. That is maybe an even better phrase. And the point that I want to make here is that, let's hide that. So the point that I want to make here is that with these kinds of tools, you can not only find out what people are generally interested in, but also what are the exact words that they are searching for. And I'm going to show you one example for this. I'm going to show you the following. So we have Zoom blur background. What about Zoom blurred background? There's some search traffic for that as well. Okay, cool. That's also a pretty good term. How about Zoom blurry background? When I did this search experiment previously, I actually got different results for this. So I'm currently failing this, and this is the charm of doing this live. The idea was here that one of these phrases would actually get me a lot lower score. But hey, this is the charm of live streaming. It's not always going to work. The point that I was trying to make, so I'm going to quickly abandon that. I'm going to very quickly abandon that and come back to the point that I was trying to make here, is that when you use tools like this, you can not only find out the topic, but you can find out the exact phrases that people are using it. And because I got the highest score for Zoom blur background, that is also what I put in the title of that video. It was released on Monday, I believe. And you know what? Just because that particular experiment failed, I'm going to show you something else. I didn't plan on doing this, but I'm going to do it. Just as a little compensation, just to make myself feel a little bit better. Let's share that. Let's share that screen there real quick. And I'm actually going to show you that video. The blur background video, and something interesting that I got from there. Just give me one moment. Yeah, because that Zoom blur background video, it has something really interesting when it comes to audience retention, and something that we can potentially all learn from that. I'm going to put that on there. Because that video was the first one that actually was able to give me a very high audience retention, because I employed a little trick here. Because the end of that video is also the beginning of that video. So it goes smoothly from the end to the top, because when this is viewed on YouTube Shorts, it actually loops it. So I was able to get a very high retention because people actually watched it twice. Okay, let's stop that screen sharing there for a moment, and let's go back on track. What were we talking about? Yeah, we were talking about about not making selfish content. I want to give you some examples of that selfish content, and then some ways to do it better. Actually, no, I already gave you the selfish content example about me talking about my trip to Dubai. Hey, I got sidetracked because my example didn't work. Listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to move over to the next topic. Guys, if you are getting value from this, hit the like button as we are going to move over to the next topic. And the next topic here is actually going to be the third tip, and that is that you can engage your audience. You should engage your audience without requiring a response. And this is where I'm going to give my example from a typical Toastmasters Club meeting or even a speech. Often you hear people start by saying something like, let's say we're talking about Dubai again. Often you hear people saying something like, if you've been, if they're talking about Dubai, right? They're going to say, have you ever been to Dubai? They're going to open your speech by saying, have you ever been to Dubai? And that is a horrible way to start your presentation. Of course, people, they want engagement, they want some kind of response, but that way of doing it is very bad for a couple of reasons. One is that you're not giving them any instructions on how they should respond. The second problem with that is that what if your answer is no? Should you still respond at all? Like, you don't know, should I say no? Should I put up my hand and say no? And the third reason why that is a bad way to engage your audience is that it pauses you. Like, if nobody responds, how are you going to continue your presentation? But here, once again, we have some learnings from YouTube, because I want to tell you about the way that we can engage people on YouTube. There's actually 7 things that I can ask you to do on this video that is going to be a form of engagement. Number 1 is hit the like button, and definitely do hit the like button if you're getting value from this. Number 2 is you can leave a comment, or I can ask you to leave a comment. Number 3 is to share the video, and number 4 is to subscribe to the channel. If you are getting value from this training, please do subscribe. So those are the 4 things you can do kind of with the buttons underneath. There's also 2 things that you can do in the video player itself. One of them is that you can click a card. So if I'm, for example, in a few minutes, I'm going to link to another video here. I'm going to say, click the link here above me. So that's a card that comes up. The 6th thing is that I can ask you to click a video on the end screen. So when the video ends, I'm going to say, click this video next. I'm going to point to it, that you can click on it. And the 7th thing that I can ask you to do is to click a link in the description. For example, I mentioned the VidIQ link here earlier. So those are things that I can ask you to do. They're call to action and they build engagement, but critically, they don't pause the show. And the same thing, even if I ask you to leave a chat message, I may not be able to read it, and I'm in fact not able to read the chat at the same time. But it's an engagement signal that you can do, but I don't have to pause the show, which is a lot better than this idea, have you ever been to Dubai, and then you're stuck. So if you want to implement this in your next presentation, you could just say, if you've ever been to Dubai, please raise your hand. In this presentation, I'm going to share 5 tips about Dubai. So you don't actually have to pause. And I think this is a key learning from making YouTube videos. And of course, like in the past, I am going to show you an example. And I'm going to share my screen here again. Just bear with me one moment. I'm going to do the video analytics screen with audio. There we go. And then I'm going to browse over. Now I'm going to put this on screen now so you can see exactly how this works, because this, if you've never seen the YouTube backend, this might actually be quite interesting to you. I'm going to navigate to the analysis tab on YouTube. And it even has here a whole section called engagement. Okay, so because we're talking about the third tip here is to engage your audience without requiring a response to them. And this has some interesting statistics. The one that I want to focus on is here. It shows these spikes in engagement. So these are examples in the video where people actually engage more. And what this means specifically is that they go back and watch it again. So you have a spike in the engagement curve if people go back and watch it again. And I'm going to take this one here. This one is about different microphones that you can get for your Zoom call. And it says, it shows that there's a spike there. So, and I'm going to actually scroll down to the second spike here. Let's see what happens in that second spike. I'm just going to play the clip instead. I have links to both of those bundles in the description below this video. Then we come to the Poly Callisto 7200. And I'm going to stop it there. So just by asking you to have a look at the links in the description, that actually increased the audience engagement and increased the retention, because people, when they hear it, they might pause the video, they might go back and watch it again, and then they're going to go and look at what's in the links. And I have seen examples of this also when I ask people to subscribe, or I ask them to like the video, that actually raises engagement. I would have thought it was the opposite. Like if I start asking you to like the video, you might get bored and just click off. But in fact, I have found that it's the opposite effect. So once again, this YouTube data here shows how people are actually behaving. You don't have to guess. You don't have to ask them. There's no surveys. It shows you how people are actually behaving. Where are they going back to watch this? And I do want to show you another example of this where this engagement goes really high. And this is a video that I did about Zoom virtual background. And I'm just going to search for it. Virtual background. This is specifically a video about how to activate the Zoom virtual background on, let's see, I'm failing at this because it's actually something, background like that. Hey guys, you know, if you've seen my live streams before, the live streams are always stressful. They're always fun because some things always go a little bit wrong. Okay, so this is the video here about the Zoom virtual background. You can see the statistics here. It's gotten 1.4 thousand views, which is very good. It's made me 19 cents. You know, you don't become rich by making YouTube videos. This is why those donations are always appreciated. But here's the audience retention chart. Look at this chart. I'm just going to make sure that that's on there. So on this chart, their retention goes up a lot here in the middle. It actually goes to 121%. What does that mean? Well, it means that people are rewinding back to that point. And I'm just going to show you a little clip here so you can see exactly what's happening there. Start or join a meeting. Tap the screen to bring up the menu, then tap the 3 dots. Tap virtual background. Choose a background and tap close, and you're. So what that sequence is it's a screen sharing, and I'm showing you exactly where to click. And if you didn't catch it on the first time, then you can go back and rewind and watch it on the second time. And it's pretty similar to the examples that we looked at before, where I had a video, a piece of B-roll where I was talking at the same time, or a photo. People are engaged by things like this when something happens at the same time as they're listening to the talk. And this is the best example I could find in my library for this. So that's another way to engage your audience without requiring any action. And of course, they are taking an action afterwards by going back. And if you can build these things into your presentations where you actively engage people to take an action, and maybe it's even coming to talk to you after the talk, downloading your things, subscribing to your channel, liking you on Instagram, whatever it is. All these things are actually really good for audience engagement and retention. Let's see here what I have up next. By the way, if you're getting value from this, go ahead and subscribe to my channel as always, just as an example of an engagement. So let's hide that on the stream right now. And I'm going to have a quick look here at the chat. Let's see if there are any questions coming in. We're going to, okay, let's go through some of these chat messages here in just a moment. But I want to share one more tip with you as we are talking about audience engagement. Actually, I'm gonna give you a different tip. I'm gonna give you a little bonus tip here. We've been talking about YouTube today. We've been talking about speaking today. And if you're not making YouTube videos yet, may I encourage you to do so? And I want to share with you this idea that I've heard when I started making YouTube videos, and that is to start before you're ready. A lot of people are, when they're making YouTube videos, they feel that they have to have everything sorted out. They have to have a fancy camera, they have to have a fancy light, a microphone, they have to have everything sorted out. But that is exactly the wrong thing. When I started making YouTube videos a year ago, 10, 11 months ago, they were terrible, right? So if you are interested in starting to make YouTube videos, just get started now. It's good to have some tools like the free version of VidIQ that I mentioned, which is available in the description, because then you can do keyword research, but then just press record. Just start with what you have. Start before you're ready, because you will never really be ready. So that's my little bonus tip if you are interested in building your skills as a video maker. And if you are a speaker, in my opinion, you have to be on YouTube. That's actually how I got started. I was asking, I was asking a more experienced speaker, how can I raise my profile and get more bookings? And he said one thing: there has to be video of you online. So now we are 1,000 subscribers later and more than 100 videos later, we are doing it. So that's my tip for you. So I'm going to have a look at the questions in the chat in just a moment, but I'm going to leave you with one more recommendation here, actually. Today we're talking about what I learned from YouTube. If you want to learn what I've learned from doing stand-up comedy, click or tap the screen right here from my video about public speaking lessons that I learned from the Comedy Club. They're a little bit different than the ones about making YouTube videos, but the audience engagement, that is a topic for both of them. So let me have a look at the chat here real quick. Let's see what kind of questions we have coming up. Let's put Harry's question on the screen here. I'm going to quickly zoom in as well. Okay, we have a question from Harry. How important is the title of the YouTube? Could the intro fail because it doesn't match if it doesn't match what the audience was expected? The answer to that is absolutely yes, it can fail. One way to label that kind of practice is clickbait. So you have something in the title and something in the thumbnail, and then you actually don't deliver on it. So it's something shocking, something exciting in the title, and then you don't deliver on it. And that is clickbait. And as soon as the viewer finds out that is in fact not the content at all, they are definitely going to leave. So in my opinion, it's incredibly important that there is complete congruence between the title, the thumbnail, and the beginning of the video. And the best way to do it is to reinforce the promise of the title and the thumbnail in the video. And you reinforce that either by delivering the first tip. If you have 7 tips, you deliver the first tip. Or you say, in this video, you're going to get this. Or in some way indicate that they are in the right place. That's actually the point of the hook. The viewer has to know that this is for them. So in some way, you need to indicate who is the correct viewer and what will they get out of it. So definitely, in my opinion, that is absolutely key, that there is congruence in there. There are exceptions to this, though. And one of those exceptions is if you are a huge YouTuber, if you are PewDiePie or you're Mr. Beast and you have millions and millions of followers, whatever you publish, some people are going to click on it. But that's not most people, right? Most of us, we have to have enormous discipline in creating titles and thumbnails that match. I'm actually going to show you something else. I'm going to show you something else. Oh, this might fail, but I'm going to show you this. This might not work at all. But okay, wish me luck with this one, because I'm going to share with you some ideas about, because it was about titles specifically. What I'm going to share with you now is my template for today's live stream. And one moment. And a specific section. Now this is the real behind the scenes stuff that you're seeing here that I'm sure. This is my template for every video that I make. I go through, I do the keyword research. I talk about, are there any products that I could talk about here? And section 7 is the title. Look at this. I wrote all these different title ideas. 5 public speaking tips I learned from making YouTube videos. 5 public speaking tips you can learn from making YouTube videos. And look at the difference here. The first one is about what I learned. The second one is about what you learned. And we're talking about not making selfish content. The second one is an example of that. How making YouTube videos made me a better speaker, how creating YouTube videos made me a better speaker, and then settling on how creating YouTube videos can make you a better speaker. Another kind of thing and so I go through many different titles before I settle on one of them. Can creating YouTube videos make you a better speaker? That's another format of the title. So I think the title and thumbnail, they're super important for the audience. So let's stop the screen sharing there. There you can see. By the way, this whole file, you saw I had 7 sections in there. It actually has 26 sections that I go through for every video that I create. There's 26 steps that I go through. Okay, that was insights that nobody was asking for. Let's have a look at the next question here from Harry. Okay, Harry's asking, how do you find the retention graph? Okay, let's put that on the screen. Let's put that on the screen for sure. I am going to share my YouTube Analytics tab. And I am going to, just go to the very start of YouTube. So when you are in your I'm going to put that on the screen right there. So when you are in your normal YouTube studio, so you get here by clicking your username in the top right corner, and then you go to YouTube Studio, which is not shown here. Actually, I can't show you, but so you go to YouTube Studio, and on the left-hand side, you have all these different, let's zoom out a little bit. You have all these different sections, and the analytics section is where that is located. So the first, it shows you the overview, reach, engagement for your whole channel. And then if you go to an individual video, let's say that we talk about this one. This was the first video that I talked about, the hybrid meeting video. So you just click on the video, and in the overview, in the analytics overview for that video, the retention chart is right here in the first section under overview. It is in the second place as well. It's also under engagement, but then it's pink. It's a different color. It's the same data, but it's a different color. And here it also shows you these bits that we were talking about, the spikes, dips, and continuous segments. So here's the famous 56% mark that we looked about. At least it was 56 the other day when I took the screenshot. So that's how you find that on YouTube Studio. But a good question. And if you're making YouTube videos and if you're not looking at your analytics, you can improve so much by looking at them, because it shows actual human behavior. And by the way, this is the way I love YouTube compared to every other platform. No other platform gives me this much data. Second by second, I can see how many people are still watching. What are the things that I'm doing that are keeping people retained? Which I think is really powerful. Okay, we have Darlene saying good tips. Very good. Thank you for joining us, Darlene. Always appreciate that as well. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have Lisa's question. Let's put Lisa's question on the board. I'm going to move away my microphone. In presenting online, do you think showing slides increases or decreases engagement? So, does showing slides does it increase or decrease retention? I'm going to hide the screen sharing, and I'm going to show you my answer. The way I share slides, as you may have seen if you've seen my live streams before, I share them like this, right? Let's go back to, actually, let's go to the very beginning. So, this way of sharing slides, I think, is pretty powerful. I can also do this, as you may have seen. I can switch quickly between the webcam, and I can even do only the slides, right? So with my setup, I can switch quickly between these different layouts. So my answer to the question is that if you can make your slides layout dynamic and lively like this, what people don't want is they don't want this. Right? They don't want a slide on the screen for the whole duration of the thing. And especially if it takes me 1 minute to talk about this slide, many speakers leave this on here for 5 minutes. In the best case scenario, maybe they, in the best case scenario, it's something like this, that there's still their faces there. But what I think is the answer is to have it in a way like this, where you can remain on screen and you can have the slide next to you. If you want to copy my slide layout, there's a link to that in the description as well. And you can implement that in OBS. And I'm actually going to put that really quickly on the screen as well as a little banner. So if you want to copy that layout that I just showed you with the 4 different layouts, you can get that at markuspresents.com/OBS. I still have the early access pricing for that. That's only $7 at the moment. But it's only for the first 50 people. So my answer is that if you can make your slides lively, active, switch them around, and follow other best practices, don't have a lot of text. I mean, there's a reason why on this slide, I don't have any additional text. And here, there's only one thing that I want to highlight on this slide. And then all of these other slides, they're just like this. They're super, super simple. I hope that answers your question. But I'd be happy to get your opinion about that as well, because Lisa Maria, very happy to get your opinion about that. So I think the ability to switch slides quickly is absolutely key, because otherwise you got death by PowerPoint and nobody wants that. So let's move over to the next question here real quickly. Okay, let's see. Lisa also says that it is a marketer's dream. Absolutely. Useful insights, right? And this is what we want. We want to know how people actually act. There's only so much information we can get from asking them. It's much better to observe their actual actions. So a marketer's dream, but also a communicator's dream. Anybody who wants to engage with an actual audience. So in the presentation, we also have Harry. Death by PowerPoint is funny. Listen, Harry, there's nothing funny about death by PowerPoint. It is the biggest communication problem that we have in our virtual meetings, and is made so much worse by these virtual meetings. For a simple reason. When you have a PowerPoint in front of you and you have a speaker next to you, you can look away to the speaker, but in a virtual meeting, you cannot do this. This is why I absolutely hate PowerPoints for the vast majority of presentations. Sometimes you can also forget to leave your slides on there, like I just did. If you do have any further questions, I'd be happy to take them if you put them in the chat. I think I've gotten through all of them. The one thing that I'm actually experimenting with here is that I'm live streaming this on YouTube. Most of you are watching this on YouTube. I'm also live streaming this on Twitch, which is the classic live streaming platform. This is the first time I'm ever doing it, so I'm very curious to see how this actually works on Twitch. I have 0 followers on Twitch, so it's a great place to test it in a safe space. Let's see, Lisa Marie. I agree about the movement on and around the slides. Love the OBS environment. Feedback about yours. Love it, but the colors are a bit flat. Okay, you know what, Lisa Marie, I'm going to tell you the reason why they are flat. I have no sense of aesthetics or like color science, right? So when I picked a color palette, I was going to say that I just picked one, but it wasn't even like this. A architect friend of mine, she told me that if you want to get good colors, just go to Pantone, which is a company that it's a color science company. So I went to the 2019 Pantone Color of the Year, and then I picked one of the color palettes, which includes the Pantone Color of the Year. And then that has been my brand color palette ever since. And I know it's not the most lively color set, but it's kind of what I have. And what I like about those colors is that they work well together. But I agree, they're not particularly lively in themselves. Completely agree with you, Lisa Marie. And when I launched my second channel, which I tried to launch, which I actually launched maybe 5-6 months ago, I once again went to Pantone, and it was the Pantone Color of the Year 2020, which was blue. I think it was called Classic Blue or something like that. And then that became the basis of my brand for that channel. So these are the tools you have to use when you don't have any sense of aesthetics at all. Lisa Marie, you can always change. Like I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to change. But you're right. You are right. I'm not married to my colors. And in any case, when it's all electronic, it's not like I have to print new business cards or anything like that. But thanks for noticing. This is my aesthetic handicap that I'm dealing with here. All right. It appears that we are out of questions. This was a lot more behind the scenes than what I usually do, and I am very happy that I got 1,000 subscribers, and I hope that this was a useful kind of interpretation of one of the things that I learned from YouTube that we can actually improve in our skills. I share 3 tips today. I have 4 or 5 more that I've been working on in that big document that you saw before. If you are interested in having like a part 2 where I share some more insights about what I've learned from YouTube for public speaking, please let me know, and I'll be happy to set that up as well. Let's see. Well, Harry says, Lisa, for us, color challenge. Color challenge, correct. That is correct. Color challenge, that is my identity from now on. Very good. For us, color challenge times, any suggestions on how to do something that isn't isn't flat. That is a very good challenge. Just because we're doing a little bit more of a relaxed stream, why don't we have a look at the Pantone color of the year really quick live here on the stream. Let's see if we can get this. I'm gonna show you my process. It's so dumb. Like it's yeah, color challenged for sure. Let's share that on the screen. Let's share that Chrome tab. There we go. And let's put that on the screen right there. Now look at this here. This is the Pantone color of the year 2019, Living Coral. And then I went down and looked at the different kind of color collections that they have put together. And of course, because I wanted to make no changes, no decisions in my life, I took the first one. So Focal Point is my color palette. Yes, it's a bit flat. I could have also gone with this Shimmering Sunset, too pink, huh? I could have gone with one of the other ones. This is actually pretty cool. Trippy. I could have gone with Trippy. And I think maybe you will agree, Lisa Marie, that Trippy would have been a little bit more lively in terms of color palette. And how about this? Under the Sea. Under the Sea is kind of nice, and it goes nicely with the Living Coral. Anyway, so that's my process. Color challenge. I like it, Harry. Perfect. Oh, 2021 is bright yellow. Oh, I haven't even checked the 2021. Oh man, maybe it's time for a rebrand. Okay, let's have a look here. So we go to a Pantone color of the year. Let's see, do we have anything? Is it easily available? Color of the year 2021. There we go, yellow. Interesting. It doesn't have the same feel, so I'm not going to put that on the screen. But hey, thanks for the head up. They seem to have a more, and of course Pantone wants me to contact sale. Let's not do that. Okay. Let's wrap this up. We have actually it's gray. Well, you know, now I'm curious. Now I'm curious. Which is it actually? Color of the year. Let's put that on there. Let's not contact sales. I'm failing at this, unfortunately. I'm going to give it one more go, and then after that, I'm going to give up. Color of the year. There we go. Okay, so this is now the color of the year. Ultimate Gray and Pantone 13 Illuminating. So I guess it's two. I guess it's two different colors, gray and yellow. So here are the colors. There we go. Illuminating, yellow and Ultimate Gray. It's a good combination. That is actually a very good combination. So if anybody wants to be like super modern in their design, just go for the current color of the year from Pantone. That's my advice as somebody who's color challenged and need all the help I need, all the help I can get. Thank you for sharing that, Lisa Marie. Let's see. Harry says, speaking of colors, have you consulted with Toastmasters? Well, I actually am very familiar with the Toastmasters color brand because I used it to create the thumbnail for today's video. It's Loyal Blue, True Maroon, and something gray. Okay, let's hide that. Okay, don't do it, says Lisa Marie. Yeah, fair enough. Good advice. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. We're going to wrap this up. I'm so happy that you were here to celebrate my 1,000 subscribers. Hey, I'm very happy about it. And getting these new subscribers just allows me to put out more content, try new and different things. Today was a bit different, and I'm very happy that you were here to join me. So I want to leave you with this one last tip, that if you do want to find out what I learned from doing stand-up comedy, click or tap the screen right here for my speaking tips from the stand-up comedy stage. And for another video from my channel, click or tap the screen right here.